Hi, I'm Professor Thomas White. I am founder and executive director of the International Business Ethics Case Competition. At the final session of this year's competition, I said that I wanted to honor the moment that we're in, the difficult circumstances, but that I didn't want to detract attention from the team's accomplishments that we were about to recognize. So I said I would do that at some point later, which brings me to this series of 3 videos. I did say, however, at the time that the gist of my message was going to be that your generation is owed an apology by my generation and your parents' generation. And secondly, I also wanted to offer you a warning about some stuff I see coming down that is not in your interest, but which, appropriately warned, you can prevent. I want to make it very clear from the outset that the substance of what I'm going to say is my personal perspective. It does not represent that of the board of IBEC or our partners or anyone else connected with the event. This is strictly my own perspective on this. So, what are you owed an apology for? Mainly that over the past 50 years, as I said, my generation and your parents' generation have allowed the country to get to a point where you face more of a threat to your lives and your future welfare than you had to. Let me explain what I mean. So let's start with the basic facts of the current situation. We have a global pandemic on our hands. It is a new deadly virus. Everything that we find out about it, it just gets more aggressive. It isn't just respiratory, it's multiple organ failure, can lead to amputations. It's now possible that it can be caught more than once. The current body count, I'm doing this towards the end of May, current body count is more than 90,000 Americans dead. Current projections are that it's going to be at least 150,000 Americans, and this is just the first wave of this virus. This is a really bad virus, and it was foreseen to a certain point. Okay, second point. Despite everything that we hear, despite everything that's said, we are not all in this together. Now, there are, as we see on a daily basis, many people who are heroes, physicians, nurses, EMTs, firefighters, police, caretakers in nursing homes, people who put their lives on the line every day to protect other people from this disease. At the same time, however, other people have been undercutting this from the beginning. Donald Trump, other federal and state officials, a so-called news network, continue to spread misinformation about the disease and to encourage behavior which from an ethical perspective is literally homicidal and suicidal. Forcing employees to return to work or asking consumers to go into stores and restaurants before it's absolutely safe to do so is to ask everyone to play Russian roulette with a gun in which most of the chambers are full. So no, we are not in this together. We are basically at war with one another, not just at war with the disease about how to manage the situation. You also deserve an apology because the body count did not have to be this high. And this isn't simply because of the incompetence that we saw in terms of the way that the federal government responded, but also a callous refusal by the federal government to do whatever it could to save lives. It's also, I think, important to take a moment when we talk about, what's at stake here, saving lives. One of the tragic things about this disease is that it is so aggressive and so contagious that the people dying from it die alone. No friends, no family, no clergy, no one to give them, sort of any kind of final comfort. If they're lucky, maybe they get to say goodbye to their family over FaceTime. If they're lucky, maybe, a nurse or a physician or someone, in all kinds of protective equipment is holding their hand or is with them when they die. But this is a sad, lonely death, and it's the kind of death that none of us would ever want. So all of that is what your generation is owed an apology for. Over the last few decades, as I said, my generation and your parents' generation have let America become a country that believes that other things are more important than saving people's lives. It doesn't matter whether it's ego, ideology, political advantage, or money. The bottom line is the same. Something else counts more than saving lives. In the minds of too many people in this country, something else is more important than protecting your grandparents, parents, brothers, sisters, and you from catching a terrible disease and dying a sad, lonely death. Now, there are lots of reasons for how America got to the point where we're characterized by this level of disregard and cruelty. But I believe there is one especially important factor that is not appreciated. That is the dangerous levels of ignorance in this country that produce this kind of situation that we're in. Millions of Americans lack the ability to see reality for what it is. They've denied the danger around us. They're easily manipulated. And that situation has put your generation in much greater danger than necessary. That's going to be the topic of the next video that I will do. This is sort of this is an introduction, and then there are going to be two others. The first one is going to be on the dangerous levels of ignorance. And then, as I said, the gist of my message was going to be not only an apology, but a warning. The warning will be what the topic of the third video is. To put it very quickly, your generation is going to be told that someone has to pay for the cost of dealing with this disease, and that's going to be you. You're going to be told that you have to sacrifice to pay back any money that's spent. You're also going to be told that just because of the fact that we have massive national debt, that your generation is going to have to sacrifice, and you will not be able to have some of the benefits that your parents and grandparents' generation have had. Social Security, Medicare, never mind repairing infrastructure and protecting against climate change. Now that, by the way, is all false. You are being, when you hear people say that, and in fact, people are already starting to say that, they're lying to you. Your generation, somebody's going to try to gaslight you. What I'm trying to do is give you a heads up about that and what the facts are. This is a situation that you can push back on, but you have to know what the situation is. You have to know the facts in order to do that, and that's going to be the topic of the third presentation. So thanks very much, and let's move on to the dangerous levels of ignorance that have been allowed to develop.